Hello, welcome to the next video lecture on strength of materials.
Thermal stresses. You know that when a member is subjected to temperature loading, it undergoes expansion, or if I cool the material, it contracts. If I know what is the level of temperature change, I can find out what is the expansion or contraction in the material by using a parameter called thermal expansion coefficient or linear thermal expansion coefficient. Based on that, in case of bars, we can classify three types. First type is called free expansion. Alpha is the thermal expansion coefficient. The unit is per degree Celsius. It is actually the strain induced per unit change in temperature. We'll see the first case is free expansion. We'll consider a bar which is fixed at one end. Bar is fixed here. Bar length is L. And when I subject it to a temperature change delta T, what happens? It expands. I'll show the expansion here like this. Since length is more compared to cross-section dimensions, we will consider the expansion only along the length direction. Initially, the bar length was this much, but now it has increased because of expansion. If the temperature is decreased, then it can contract also. But let us assume that it is increased now. This change in length, we call it as dl. This dl can be quantified. It can be measured when I know the temperature change delta T. So how it is measured is alpha delta T into L. This is how it is measured. Alpha is the thermal expansion coefficient, which is a material property. For steel, it will be around 12 into 10 power minus 6 per degree Celsius. This case is free expansion. The material is free to expand. As you increase the temperature, it keeps on expanding. If you decrease the temperature, it contracts in the direction. When there is no constraint for thermal expansion, the body expands freely without suffering any stresses. There is no stress in this material. It is free to expand, so there are no stresses. The second case we'll consider B, completely constrained case. Here we will consider the bar like this. It is fixed at this end and fixed on the other end also. Here also it is fixed. In this case, if I increase the temperature, the change in temperature is delta T, then what happens? This bar will try to expand, but there is no provision for expansion. So thermal stresses are induced. Thermal stress is induced because of constraint. You are constraining the deformation. You are not allowing the body to deform. So compressive stresses are developed when you increase the temperature. But when you decrease the temperature, tensile stresses are also developed. If there is no right support, the bar would have moved freely like this. This can be quantified, alpha delta TL. So DL is what? Alpha delta TL. It is free expansion of the bar. So since the right support is present, we are preventing the bar from deforming so much. That is why this deformation is called restrained deformation. It means expansion that is not allowed, that is prevented. This case is same as considering a bar of length L plus DL and you are trying to compress it by compressive force like this to this position by a deformation of DL. Thermally induced strain. I'll call it as epsilon thermal, which is DL by L or alpha delta T L by L, or it is just alpha delta T. This is the thermal strain developed in the material. So when there is a strain, I can also talk about stress. Thermal stress from Hooke's law, I can write it as sigma TH is equal to E into epsilon TH. Epsilon TH is alpha delta T. So it is E into alpha into delta T. This is the thermal stress. So in case A, bar was free to expand. Since there was no constraint on the deformation, thermal stresses will not develop in the case A. But in case B, there are supports on either ends. So when you try to increase the temperature, the body will try to expand, but there is no provision for expansion. So the compression will be introduced. Thermal stress can be quantified using this expression, alpha delta T into E. And the third case is C, which is called partially constrained or partial constraint, for which you can take the example like this: a bar and left end is totally constrained and right end, let us say there is a support here like this, there is a small gap, and this gap delta, this length is L and the gap here is delta. Then this is partially constrained. Why it is called partially constrained? If there is no right support, it is case A. If the support is present at the free end, then it is case B. Now it is not case A and case B because there is a small gap. So what happens when I increase the temperature to delta T? Initially, the bar will expand freely till it deforms by delta. But once it touches the side support, then thermal stresses will start. Till then, no stresses, it is free to expand. If I consider the free expansion of this is alpha delta TL. This is alpha delta TL free expansion. It means the bar was supposed to deform by alpha delta TL, but it has deformed only delta. Remaining deformation is not allowed or restrained. Restrained deformation, we call it as TLR. It is alpha delta TL minus delta. So thermal strain will be epsilon TH, which will be change in length divided by original length, which is alpha delta TL minus delta divided by L. So thermal stress sigma TH is equal to E into epsilon TH, or it is E into alpha delta TL minus delta divided by L is the thermal stress in this partially constrained case. We will take up one problem related to this. A copper bar of length 160 mm is placed on a rigid support in vertical position. Clearance between the upper support and the top surface of the member is 0.1 as shown. Determine increase in temperature required for the bar to touch the upper support. That is the first question. Second one, temperature rise required to induce compressive stress of 100 megapascal. Third one, stress bar when its temperature is increased by 90 degrees Celsius and the upper support yields by 0.12 mm. Fourth one, stress induced in the bar when the temperature is increased by 30 degrees Celsius and the upper support is in contact with the top surface of the bar. These are the four questions. Take Young's modulus of copper is 120 GPa and alpha for copper as 18 into 10 power minus 6 per degree Celsius. First question, increase in temperature required for the bar to touch the upper support. It is a free expansion case. We have to consider it as alpha delta TL, and for DL we have to substitute 0.1 is equal to alpha is 18 into 10 power minus 6 into temperature change we have to find out into length of the bar is 160 mm. So this, if you solve, you will get the answer for the first question. You will get it as 34.7 degrees Celsius. So 34.7 degrees Celsius is required for the bar to touch the top support. That is the first answer. Second one, temperature rise required to induce compressive stress of 100 megapascal. This is partially constrained case. Once the top surface of the bar touches the support, if you still increase the temperature, compressive stresses are induced, but because of gap, it becomes a partially constrained case. So we have derived the thermal stress equation for partially constrained case as E into alpha delta TL minus delta divided by L. We have to find out the temperature required. See, stress induced is 100 megapascal, that is given. So it is 100 is equal to E is 120 into 10 power 3 into alpha is 18 into 10 power minus 6 into delta T we have to find out into length is 160 minus the gap is 0.1 mm divided by the total length which is 160. So if you solve this, you will get the temperature required for compressive stress of 100 megapascal, which will be 81 degrees Celsius. This is the second case. C. Stress induced in the bar when its temperature is increased by 90 degrees Celsius and the upper support yields by 0.12 mm. Upper support yields means upper support itself will move like this. Already there is a gap of 0.1, but because of the expansion of the bar, support itself will yield, means gap is as good as 0.1 plus 0.1. So delta becomes 0.1 plus 0.12, for which I have to find out the stress induced. So delta T is given as 90 degrees Celsius. So we'll try to find out the stress. So sigma TH is equal to E into alpha delta TL minus delta divided by L, which is 20 into 10 power 318 into 10 power minus 6. Delta T is 90 into L is 160 minus delta is 0.1 plus 0.12, which is 0.22 divided by length 160, which will be 29.4 megapascal. Observe, in the previous case, case B, the stress was 100 for a temperature change of 81 degree. Stress was 100 because the gap was small, 0.1 was the gap. Now, stress is only 29.4 for a temperature change of 90 degree. See, 81 to 90, it is not a very big difference. But because of the large gap, stress is reduced. Case D, stress induced in the bar when the temperature is increased by 30 degrees Celsius means delta T is 30 degree and the upper support is in contact with the top surface of the bar means delta is 0. It is the fully constrained case. Thermal stress equation becomes E into alpha delta T L by L, or it is just E alpha delta T. E is 120 into 10 power 3 into alpha is 18 into 10 power minus 6 into delta T is 30 degree, which will be 34.8 megapascal. We have discussed about thermal expansion. We talked about free expansion. If the member is free to expand when the temperature is applied, then there will not be any stress. Thermal stress is 0. Second case is completely constrained case where both the ends of the bar are fixed. Here thermal stresses do exist and that can be calculated as alpha delta T into the Young's modulus. And the third category was partial constraint, where a bar which is fixed at one end and there can be a small gap on the other end between the support and the surface of the bar. If the gap length is delta, then you can find out what is the thermal stress. Thermal stress will be alpha delta T minus delta by L into E. This also we derived. So all these cases were possible only by considering the bar as a single material. Now we will discuss about composite bars. Composite bars means bar which is made up of more than one material. For example, let us say this top material is steel and bottom material is copper. This bar is of length L. This is called a compound bar. When more than one material is used or attached to each other and form a bar, it is called compound bar or composite bar. Steel has an alpha value, I'll call it as alpha S, and steel has Young's modulus of E, let us say ES, and copper has thermal expansion coefficient of alpha C and has Young's modulus of EC, let us say. Thermal expansion coefficient of copper and steel are different. In fact, copper has higher value than steel. So alpha copper is greater than alpha C. I'm just showing an example here. It can be of any material. Now, if you consider steel and copper, copper has more alpha. So what happens when two materials are attached to each other? Since the rate of expansion in both the materials are different, rate of expansion of one material will impose a constraint on the other material. They try to expand freely at different rates. Because of that, they impose constraint to each other. Hence, they are subjected to thermal stresses. Thermal stresses are induced due to the different rate of expansion in two materials. We should be able to quantify how much thermal stresses or expansions are induced in both the members. When the materials are arranged like this, it is called parallel case, parallel arrangement. So we'll try to analyze how this deformation occurs and how we can arrive at the thermal stress equation for this. Let us write the original position of both the members. I'll separate steel and copper material. This is steel and this is copper. Now imagine copper material is not present, only steel is present, and you subject that bar to a temperature change of delta T. Then you know that steel has thermal expansion coefficient of alpha S and it has Young's modulus of E. It freely expands because it is not constrained. So free expansion of steel, I'll show it like this. I'm exaggerating, it may not deform so much, but for our analysis, we'll try to write it bigger scale so that we'll analyze easily. So this is what? This is the free expansion of steel. When copper is not present, steel will expand so much. I can quantify this. If I know alpha, I can say that it is alpha S delta T into L. L is the length of the bar. Alpha delta T L is the free expansion of steel member. Similarly, now let us imagine steel is not present, copper is present. Copper is subjected to temperature change of delta T. So we know that E for copper is EC and alpha of copper is alpha C. Now we will write how this deforms. Since alpha C is greater than alpha S, copper will deform more than steel. So I will show the deformed position here. I am trying to write the free expansion of copper. I'll show it larger than that of steel member. So this is alpha C delta T L of copper. But now both are together. So if I subject the compound bar to a temperature change of delta T, then it takes some position in between these two lines. Let us say it takes a position here. The entire surface means this surface will move like this because of thermal expansion, let us say. Right? It takes some position in between the free expansions of both the members. So this is the deformed or final position. Now with this, we have to understand how stresses are induced in steel and copper. Observe this, free expansion of copper, if you consider, it was supposed to deform so much when steel was not present, but it is deforming only this much. It was supposed to deform this much, it is deforming only this much. That means it is getting compressed, it is being compressed with a force. I'll call that force as Fc. Similarly, steel member, which was supposed to expand so much freely, it has expanded more because of copper. So it is under tension. There is a tensile force here. So it is subjected to a tensile force. Let us call it as Fs. So imagine because of this compressive force Fc and tensile force Fs, the surface has taken this position, final position. Now, if Fc and Fs are the forces, we can calculate what is the deformation due to those forces. We know that when force is P, deformation is PL by A. For copper member, this much is the PL by A. I'll call it as PLC, which is FCL divided by A of copper, E of copper. Copper member is being compressed by a distance of PLC. So what is the tension in steel? How much tensile deformation has happened in steel? This much tensile deformation has happened in steel member. And how do I write this? This is PLS. I can write it as FSL divided by AC EC. What is the equilibrium condition here? The equilibrium condition is Fs has to be equal to Fc because there is no other external force. They are equal and opposite. The Fs has to be equal to Fc. The kinematic condition we have to derive from this analogy, whatever we have explained now. From that I have to write a condition. This is the distance of expansion of the compound bar from initial position to final position. This can be written like this: alpha C delta TL minus DLC. And in the same way, I can write in terms of alpha S also. Alpha S delta T L plus DLS. And they are equal. This has to be equal to this. This is the kinematic condition that I have to use now. So I'll write the kinematic condition here. Alpha C delta T L. I can send this to the right hand side and this to the left hand side. It is easy for me. Alpha C delta TL minus alpha S delta TL is equal to LC plus DLS. This is the kinematic condition. Delta TL, I'll take it outside because length is same for both, and inside the bracket it becomes alpha C minus alpha S. On the right hand side, I'll take L common because L is same for both. Inside, I'll write FC divided by AC EC plus FS, L is taken outside, remaining is AS ES. Now I can substitute for FC is equal to FS and substitute in place of FS is equal to FC from equilibrium. FC, you will get it as ASES into ACEC divided by ACEC plus ASES into alpha C minus alpha S into delta T. This is what you get because L will be cancelled here. This has to be equal to Fs because of equilibrium. So we know what is the amount of force that both materials are experiencing. But remember, copper is under compression and steel is under tension. Once you know forces, you can calculate what is the stress also. So I'll write the stress equation also here. Stress induced in copper member is Fc by AC and stress induced in steel member is equal to Fs by As. This is how you need to analyze a problem when the materials are arranged parallelly. I'll consider the series case now. Case B, series arrangement. So now I'll consider arrangement like this. I have a member like this and another member like this. Now let us assume that this is a steel member and this is copper. I'll take this length as LS, this length as LC. So compound bar is made like this by joining two materials like this. Alpha of steel is alpha S, alpha of copper is alpha C, and we know that alpha of copper is greater than alpha of steel. This is an example. Let us assume that this end is fixed here and this end is also fixed. In the previous problem also, you can assume that left end is fixed because we are considering deformation on the right side. So let us assume that both ends are fixed. Now we will subject this to a temperature change of delta T. Let us assume that copper member is not present. Steel member is here, left end is fixed. So right hand you will observe some free expansion. Let us exaggerate and write the free expansion. This is the amount of free expansion it undergoes. I'll write this deformation as alpha S delta T and LS. And I'll write the free expansion of copper also. Copper expands in the other direction because right hand is fixed there. So it has to expand in this direction. So copper expands like this. This is what? Alpha copper T L copper. This is the free expansion of copper. So free expansions are written assuming that other material is not present. Now both materials are attached and the surface which was here will take some position here because copper rate of expansion is more. So the surface may not move right side, may move left side because rate of expansion in copper is more. Let us imagine that the surface takes a final position here. So this is the, it takes a position like this. The surface of copper which is supposed to be here has taken only this much. That means it is under compression like this. So when it is compressed from free state to here only, it takes this position. So it is under compression. And steel also, which is supposed to be here, so there is a compression on the steel. This is compressive force on steel. This is the compressive force on copper. In the previous case, since the materials were arranged parallelly, one was under compression, one was under tension. The material which has more alpha is under compression. The material which has low alpha is under tension. But now both are under compression. That is one important thing you need to remember. But here also equilibrium condition is same. Fs is equal to Fc because there is no other external load. Steel surface which was supposed to be here, it has gone to this position. So this much is the amount of compression steel member is undergoing. DLC. Similarly, I can write what is the amount of compression that the copper member undergoes. So the surface which was supposed to be here has come to this position. So this much is the amount of deformation in steel member. DLC is nothing but FC LC divided by AC EC. TLS is nothing but FS LS by AS ES. So first is the equilibrium equation, Fc is equal to Fs. Second, kinematic condition can be written now. This distance, if you can write in terms of all these four parameters, that becomes the kinematic condition. What is that distance in terms of DLS and DLC? It is just alpha C delta TLC minus DLS is equal to DLC minus alpha S delta TLS, or DLS plus DLC is equal to alpha C delta T LC plus alpha S delta T LS. You can write it as Fs LS by AS ES plus CLC by AC EC is equal to, right hand side delta T is common, so I'll take delta T outside, alpha C LC plus alpha S. So when I substitute FC is equal to Fs, I can write the equation for Fs. So Fs is equal to, take the LCM here and inverse it. LCM becomes AS ES plus AC EC, and in the numerator it will be AE EC LS plus AS ES LC. Delta T and alpha C LC plus alpha S LS. And this will be equal to FC. Now I can find out what is the stress. Stress in steel member is Fs by As. Stress in copper member is Fc by AC. So this way you can find out the stresses in both the members. There is one way you can remember this in parallel arrangement. This equation you observe, this is the kinematic condition for parallel case. And in the series case, we got it like this. This is a series case. So observe this minus sign here, this is a positive sign. That is the only difference. So in the problem, whether it is parallel case or series case, you can remember this expression as it is. DLS plus DLC is equal to alpha C delta T L plus alpha S delta T LS. It will become plus for the series arrangement, it becomes minus for the parallel arrangement. And remember, alpha C has come here because alpha C is greater than alpha S. But equilibrium condition is same for both the cases.